Hey everybody, this is Mark, and today I'm starting something called Mark's Marvelous Moments. So we're gonna have some fun today. I'm gonna share some things with you. I've got a story to tell you, and some other cool stuff. And the first thing I want to talk about is something I did. Oh gosh, it's been almost 3 years. So 3 years ago, I signed up with a program with Jack Canfield. He did the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, sold like literally 500 million books some years back. And so he actually sold the franchise about 12 years ago, and he went into becoming a success coach. So this book here, it's called Train the Trainer Live with Jack Canfield, a boatload of material. Now, what that book is, the material is based on is Jack Canfield's The Success Principles, which is called The Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. So I spent an entire year signing up with that program. And the cool part about the program is I got to work live with Jack. He was just, you could talk to him, you could approach him. There was only 37 people in the group, plus there were other teachers and facilitators. It was a very small group of people. And to be able to get that close to him and really have really great intimate contact. Plus there was a ton of homework on his website, a great website with all these different modules. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And the thing about the program, when you're in the program, you learn the program, you apply the program to your own life, which I had done before, but he really held you accountable for that. And then you teach the program to everybody else. So I've had different things that have happened in my life in the last couple of years, but now I really am ready to tell you that I am actually a success coach. I've been certified in this program. I know the material, and I've had a few other things that have happened in my life and a few other things that I tend to want to do certain things in order. But what happened to me the other day was I was out walking. We've all been doing a lot of walking or biking. I know I have. And as I'm walking around, it looks like kids had written some really cool, positive things on the sidewalk, like, faith and hope. And then I turned the corner, and around the corner, there was like several of these cement blocks on the sidewalk that said, "You're going to be okay." And I thought, wow, that's really cool. Like somebody was out there getting some positive word out, some, good stuff. And then it was weird. It just kind of hit me. I'm like, well, you trained for this 3 years ago. And I know you have certain things you want to do. And I've had a couple things that have happened to me in my life. But I'm like, man, now is the time. So here I am. Mark Hill, personal trainer owner, personal trainer, and success coach. So one of the things I want to share with you, and this is a really cool tool that we learned right out of the gate. Now, in his book, The Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be, the very first chapter in the book is take 100% responsibility for your life. And there's a quote from Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is kind of an American's business philosopher. He passed away, and I used to listen to him. He's very good. And he said, you must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. So I really, really love that. And in addition to that, most of us, including myself, have been conditioned to blame something outside of ourselves for the parts of our life that we don't like. I could give you many examples, but a good example was back in 2008 when the market collapsed, and I was having the best business at that time for my personal training business after like literally 7 years of a lot of sweat equity mistakes. And all of a sudden it just completely fell apart after the crash. Like it literally fell apart in 10 weeks. And I was so mad at the economy. Why me? I worked so hard for this. And it wasn't until I started to change my attitude towards the situation. And that's when I really started to learn things about myself and how to adapt to what had happened. And this book kind of plays into that quite a bit. And I am going to give you, if you see the shirt I'm wearing, it says E++. plus R equals O. It may be coming out backwards, but that's okay. And I'm going to teach that today, and it's like the formula for life, and it's a really good tool to use every day in every way. I use it all the time, and I catch myself when I go, I think we need to apply the formula in this situation. So, anyways, when we talk about responsibility, we often find ourselves blaming our parents, our bosses, our friends, our coworkers, and our spouse. The weather, the economy, as I mentioned earlier, the government. Some people even blame their astrological chart. That wouldn't be me. Our lack of money. Anyone or anything we can pin the blame on. And that's, unfortunately, we've all done that. I know I have. And when it all boils down, we never want to look at where the real problem is, which is ourselves. So, the formula I'm going to teach you today is called E. The E stands for event. Okay? So E plus R, the R is response, equals O, which means outcome. So it's event plus response equals outcome. Now, outcome is the result. Now, we cannot change the event. And the event can be anything. I'll give you some great specific examples. From small things to big things, it is just what it is. And I'll give you a little bit of examples in a second here. Of this formula, the only thing that we can control is the R. And that can change the outcome, is our response. You know, that's where our responsibility comes in, is our response. So let me give you some examples. Let's just say you get a huge promotion at work and you make $20,000 more a year and you're super excited. You work so hard for it. Now, 20 grand is a lot of money, you know. So you think to yourself, well, I'm going to buy a new car, I'm going to get a better house or whatever. And those are some of the thoughts that come into our mind. But maybe someone else says, well, gosh, I should probably stick with the car I have. I love my house. Maybe I should take that money and invest it in an IRA or stocks or you know, use it to invest into the future. But what people will sometimes do is they sometimes take that extra money and they want to upgrade their lives, which is not, you know, abnormal. So, or you can even do something, this is what I tend to do sometimes, is you take the money and you invest it in something, but you also maybe spend a little bit for yourself. But again, that is your R. How you handle the money from that raises up to you. Another good example is, let's just say you have an appointment and it's either you're meeting a friend or it's a business appointment. So you leave your house late, which we've all done, and I know myself, I'm over there squeezing the wheel like the Hulk about to crush the wheel, when all I had to do was leave earlier, because something always happens. You know, I forgot my cell phone at home, I had to circle back, or traffic's bad, there was an accident, anything could happen. So the lesson you learn from that, your response is that, geez, next time I should leave 15 to 20 minutes early. Because gripping the steering wheel is not a good response. Now, the cool part about this formula, and I realize this when applying it to my life, is when certain things happen to me, sometimes I have a visceral emotional response, which is not abnormal. But what I realized is at any time you can change your response. I mean, you could get better about how you're handling the situation. And all of a sudden, things can end up being better because you're handling it different than you were before. So again, this is a formula for life. E is event, and it can be anything. A promotion, it could be, like I said, being on time for an appointment, or it could be something even bigger, like, you know, you find out you have cancer. I mean, it could be anything. But the R is the only thing you can control, is how you're going to respond to that event, no matter what the event is. Because that determines your O, your outcome. So that is your formula for life today. E plus R equals O. Now, let's change things a little bit, and I want to talk about some other cool stuff. So obviously you can see I have a pool, and I've over the last couple years I've replaced the pump, the sand filter. We got a new type of sand filter. It's the coolest type of sand filter they have right now. It's very efficient. So I really kind of overhauled the pool. Well, wouldn't you know it, the other day the pool wasn't working right, and we couldn't figure it out. So we called our pool guy who had replaced some of this equipment. And normally when they come out, it's a $75 fee. And so anyways, my cousin Bob, who's a very good negotiator, talked to the guy and said, hey, my cousin's business was just shut down, and we're a loyal client. We always use you guys. Is there anything you could do today? And the guy was super cool, and he said, yeah, I'm just going to charge you $20 for the part, which was more good news. So just $20, where it could have been $95. So I was extremely grateful for that. What a really cool guy. So that was pretty cool. Now I'm going to go into something, and again, this is kind of off the cuff. This is called Mark's Silly Story, which just happened a few days ago. So I'm a big fan of the Greenbelts. I have a cool bike, and I often use the bike to go down the Greenbelt. So I'm going down the Greenbelt, and as I'm coming on the path, there's a part of the path which I really wasn't aware of, but there's like a big gap on the side. So unknowingly, I slipped off the path just a little bit, and the tire dropped off. And now I have a mountain bike, so usually it bounces, it jumps over anything, but not today. So the wheel got stuck in that little groove, and what do you think happened? Bam, I crashed. And so I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this happened, but oh well. So there was a couple behind me, and they were like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, and I got up and I moved. I said, yeah, I'm fine. And the guy was totally cool. He goes, I have to tell you, it was the most graceful crash I've ever seen. So I think intuitively, I just knew how to respond to it. So anyways, I decided to ride the bike a little further north, about 3 or 4 miles. And then I've had a little bit of trouble with the bike. Even though I had it repaired, I don't think it was repaired properly. So the chain came off. So I'm putting the chain back on, and somehow, some way, the thing called the derailleur, it's at the back of the bike near the wheel, it helps the chain shift, broke off. I go, you gotta be kidding me. So luckily, there was a bus stop, and there was one of those rails. So I have a lock, I lock the bike, and I said, not a big deal. I'll just walk back to my truck and pick up. Well, now I realized I'm about 5 miles away. Not a big deal, but here was the problem: is the day I was leaving the house, I remember looking down, and I had these really casual shoes that I wear. They're very comfortable, but they're not walking shoes at all. And so I started walking with these shoes on, and my feet were literally getting blisters after like the first 1.5 or 2 miles. And I go, of all days that I wore these shoes, it's just funny how life happens. So as I'm walking, I came upon this place called, it's an e-bike place where they sell and rent bikes. And I go, well, I might as well rent a bike, drive it back to the truck, then put the bike in the back, and then drive the truck up and get my bike. So I thought, good idea. So I go in there, and I actually talked to the guy maybe about 10 days ago, and he remembered who I was. And I said, I told him what happened. And so he gave me a little demo on the bike. So I get on this e-bike. I've never ridden one. I have ridden electric scooters in Venice Beach, maybe about a year ago or so. So anyways, I get on this bike, and I've never experienced one. And so I start off slow. Oh my God, this bike was badass. Like, I just started zipping along, and you pedal too. So you do both, and it really accelerates the bike. So I'm cruising through, and I get back to my truck, take the truck back up to the bus stop, throw my other bike back on, and then drive back to where I rented the e-bike. So I had probably about 20, 30 minutes, and I thought, well, I might as well enjoy it. I paid for the hour. So I did. So normally, what would take me a little bit of while, I drove all the way down to Tempe Town Lake, went around it, and came back. I was just blowing by everybody. I was so fascinated by this bike while pedaling and clicking on the gears to make it go fast. I was going about 20 miles an hour, but it was, there was a bit of a challenge, but certainly it's easy to use in some parts. You just have to be careful because you're going a lot faster. So anyways, I'm coming back to the bike place, and I said, I better see how much time I have left. So where the bike place is at, there's basically an area where, there's a lot of sidewalk and stuff. So I'm coming through that area, and there's a kind of a roof and stuff over that, and you're kind of in out of the shade. So as I'm coming through there, the sun kind of hits me in the face a little bit, and the next thing I know, I fucking crash again. I was like, what happened? So this is kind of weird. Where the sun came into my face, there was this big round area. I have no idea why, and there's a little drop off, and it's all dirt. So as soon as I hit that, I just slid in the dirt. And I will tell you this, the second crash hurt a hell of a lot more than the first one. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. Now, the funny part of this story is I haven't had a bike crash or any type of crash in 23 years. But now I got 2 in one day. So, of course, people go, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, kind of twisted up. And luckily the bike wasn't damaged, but, stuff was shifted around. I had to kind of uncurl the wires around the bike. The fender was off. The headlamp was off. The seat was twisted. I mean, I really fucking smacked the ground. And I get up though, and the good news is I felt okay. And I'm like, but my knees were all scraped up. Just, not that big of a deal. So I go in and I see the guy, and he's like, oh, you got 20 more minutes. So of course, me being me, I got back on the bike, and I said, don't crash this time, please. So I went out on the ride, and I came back, and I made sure everything was good on the bike. Nothing was broken, luckily. The bike was fine. It was just everything was just kind of twisted around on it. So anyways, when I got back home, I felt my chest, and long story short, the only thing I have is it looks like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer in my right pec. I mean, it's just really a big major contusion. But here's the deal. I was so grateful that 2 crashes in one day, no broken bones, no real problems. I mean, I was actually pretty fine. So there goes back to E plus R equals O. I wasn't happy that I crashed. And then I started to realize that I'm very fortunate that I wasn't seriously injured at all. And so I changed my response. So it kind of goes back to what I talked in the beginning. And I said, gosh, I'm so grateful that I didn't have any type of serious injury. So anyways, this leads into another part of the story. It's a little bit different. So I had to get my bike fixed because obviously we have this beautiful weather. I mean, here, as you can see right now, the weather is beautiful. It's about, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's just gorgeous out. So I called the bike place that had fixed the bike before, and they're like, we're 3 weeks out. We're getting bombarded, which certain businesses are doing well right now, which is good for them. But 3 weeks, I'm like, I want my bike now. So luckily for me, I have a really good friend, and she's been a client for many years. Her name is Bridget. Some of you probably know her. Not everybody's met her, but I'm sure some of you all know her. And she's a good friend, and her husband own, it's called Soul, like soul, like you're a good soul, because I know there's a lot of good souls listening to this right now. Soul Beach Cruisers, and I thought, well, let me call them. So I called them, they're like, yeah, we can help you. And I'm like, oh, you guys are the best. So I go up there, and this was I think it was a Tuesday, and yesterday, yeah. Or Monday, it was Monday. And they said, oh, we should have it ready by Friday. I'm like, well, Friday's a heck of a lot better than 3 weeks. So I said, oh, great, you guys are the best. So they call me the next day and say, hey, your bike's fixed. I go, really? I go, awesome. I go, okay, well, I'll be up to pick it up. So I got up there, and I was like, so, what do I owe you guys? Like, nothing. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. And they're like, no, you're good. Well, it turned out that it only took them 15 minutes to fix it, but even still, it was very, very nice of them to do that for me. I was very appreciative. Again, another thing to be very thankful for. Gratitude is always the attitude. There's many times in life where you have opportunities. I didn't get hurt in the crash. My bike was fixed for free. My pool guy fixed my pool at a very reasonable price. I mean, there was a lot of gratitude going on this week for things that I'm very thankful for. So he told me that it actually, I thought it was broken, and he said, a bike shop would have probably ripped me off, and and getting some of these parts can run a couple $100. But he fixed it, and it rode really, really well. So anyways, they also, they sell beach cruisers, but they also sell e-bikes. And I was telling him about the e-bike. He goes, well, you got to try one of ours. And they're really cool bikes. And by the way, just to tell you, I got on their bike, and it's a really cool looking bike. And this thing, like, I had something to compare it to, the e-bike I rode and crashed on. Their bikes are way faster, way smoother, and way cooler. I mean, I was like, I've got to get one of these. I mean, I was just blown away. So they had a few still there, and they have some bikes coming in. They have the regular beach cruisers and the e-bike, so they have both. And they have a ton of accessories. So if you want to get a super cool e-bike, and you can check them out, just to, they are at soulbeachcruisers.com. It's Jim and Bridget Decker, and their phone number is 480-306-8812. Check them out. Bikes are going fast right now, but their e-bike is just badass. I mean, to be able to have that one and then compare it. So it was a really great experience for me, and I'm so thankful for them for fixing my bike, and being able to experience that bike ride on their e-bike was just really cool. So anyways, I'm going to shift into something else. And one of the books, I read a lot of different books. This is from Time Magazine. It's called The Science of Happiness. And I've used this book multiple times because I like reading the material. They're good reminders. It's like a great learning and reference point. So one of the things that came up that I think would be a good time is about resilience. Now, resilience means the capacity to recover quickly from hard times or difficulties. Toughness, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. Now you think, what does that have to do with happiness? Well, it has a lot to do with it. And this is based on science. It's like finally the scientific world's catching up with stuff we've probably known for centuries, which is cool, it's great. But science says you can train your brain to better withstand hard times. Train your brain. I like that rhyme. So resilience is something that is learned, and and if you think about this, it goes back to the E plus R equals O again. So I often tell people that experiences I've been through, when I've learned to cope positively from the capacity to grow stronger. Because I always tell people I'm pretty thick-skinned. Not a lot of things bother me like they used to. And that leads to more happiness because you don't get caught up into those little things that you say, God, why did I worry about that? It's kind of dumb, it's silly, but it's not that. It's that you trained yourself, you trained your brain not to be all flipped out about certain things. You go, God, I'm just a better person. So resilience is a great thing. And I always tell people, I've been saying this for years, is when things don't go your way, whether it's whatever happens in life, and I mean, if you get dealt a bad set of cards, it's all how you respond to that set of cards, because your response determines the outcome. And like I said, if you have a bad response, you can always change it. But what you learn from that thing is that it helps you grow stronger. Resilience helps you grow stronger so you can enjoy more of life and not get distracted by things that really don't matter. So when things don't go well, I always say that's when school's in session. And that's when you need to make sure you show up at school and learn what you can learn from the experience, grow from the experience. Because there's only two things in life when you see people look at certain things. You either shrink from it or you grow from it. But even if you're in a little bit of a shrink mode, you can go to grow mood by changing your R, your response. And I'll give you an example. Everybody remembers the plane that landed, I think it was back in New York, where they landed the plane. They didn't think they were going to make it back. And I mean, that was a gutsy move by the captain. Now, what's interesting about that situation, I had seen some people interviewed, And one woman was interviewed, and she said, every night I wake up and I'm having a nightmare about the same thing over and over. I said, well, that's interesting. I don't know why she's living through the same terror, because she's alive. At least that's my thought of you. But then another guy was interviewed, and he said, I'm gonna change my position at the job. I'm tired of traveling so much and being away from my kids. This experience taught me that I need to be more focused on my family, and certainly my career matters, but I need to change how often I travel. And so you have two people that went through this same exact experience but had two different reactions. One makes some positive life changes, the other one keeps running through the problem in a nightmare over and over. And I understand that people are different, but a lot of it has to do with how you respond to each incident. So, anyways, that's my little thing on resilience and my crazy crash story. And this was Mark's Marvelous Moments. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. Please let me know. I'd greatly appreciate any type of feedback. I'm just doing this off the cuff, like most of my life. I kind of like it that way. I don't know. That's just how I roll. But thank all of you for listening. God bless all of you. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Walk, ride your bike, do whatever makes yourself feel good. And I'll see you all again in the future. So thanks again for listening. And again, let me know what you thought of all this. I'd really appreciate it. So thank you.